Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, Brent. Sorry I didn't get a chance to call you.
Oh, you're fine, sir.
You guys are live.
All right, so again, calling the meeting to order at 7:01. Any additions and deletions to the agenda? I want to add executive session to discuss some personnel issues.
No additions or deletions for me.
Okay, no Eric. Michael?
None.
Scott?
None.
So, other than executive session, can we have a motion to accept the addition of executive session?
Motion.
Second.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get,
Eric, you're still
motion.
mute.
Excuse me,
What's that?
Eric? Someone said Eric or?
Yeah. Okay. He's turning it off and on. Sorry, guys.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the January 19th minutes?
Motion.
Second?
Support.
Anyone have any comments, questions, objections?
No.
I saw it. I saw it this time.
I'm sorry, Ruth, didn't hear you.
I'm good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let me try and turn my volume up. Monthly report, Deputy Chief or Interim Chief Harden.
Okay, just a minute. I'm gonna get into a screen share.
Pardon?
I'm gonna get into a screen share here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to start off with some recent news. Kurt Korneffel, he's involved in the fire department activities. He ended up acquiring a donation from the physicians at Beaumont Hospital. He's allowed us to gain access to what's called the Lucas chest compression system. So what this will allow us to do, it's a backpack that allows the officers that are first responders to respond to a cardiac arrest victim. They'll be able to disassemble this backpack and assemble this to a victim of cardiac arrest on the scene. The ambulances also carry this device on their emergency response vehicles on the ambulances, but this will allow us as first responders to get there more immediately in the patrol car, begin resuscitative measures, and then the fire department can access and utilize this device if we have it on the victim already. So exciting news. It's about a $15,000 donation that was provided by Beaumont Hospital, and the training is going to start in the next few weeks. So good news on that. So I want everybody to be aware of that. It's going to really increase the emergency response of the police and fire departments. The other thing is some recent activity that I wanted to let you know about. And this is from our task force officer, John Ferguson. And I'm just going to briefly go over this scenario so that you have an idea of what transpired. So on January 15th of this year, a Hamtramck police officer and former DEA task force officer initiated a traffic stop on I-75 and discovered a lone occupant. He had concealed $11,000 in cash on his person. He was arrested for suspension, and then he was lodged in the Hamtramck jail. It isn't illegal to have large amounts of cash on you, but he was detained and legally arrested with the suspension that he had. He was attempted to be bonded out by a relative. The phone numbers were traced, and eventually, after doing a query with the information that was gathered, it was found that these individuals were involved in what's called promethazine codeine distribution. And that was a case out of Arkansas. Promethazine codeine it's essentially a cough syrup, and it's used in its notoriety in the raping community. It's a purple drink that is very common as a cough suppressant and is among the use of rappers throughout the country. The officers with the task force ended up doing 2 trash pulls within the following weeks, and they found alleged criminal activity that was going on at those locations. A state of Michigan search warrant was completed at the cousin's residence, and they executed a warrant. 1,400 bottles of promethazine, weapons, jewelry, and approximately $40,000 in cash was recovered from that location. And this is what we ended up obtaining. So boxes of the promethazine, assorted firearms and weapons, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash eventually, which you'll see additional photographs of
Where was this found?
in Hamtramck.
Yeah, was it in the guy's apartment or just?
At the location, yes. They did an executed search warrant.
Wow.
So additional pendants. This is how vain these individuals can be. They have a diamond, 10-carat diamond and gold promethazine medallion that they would wear around their neck. So after executing the first search warrant, an additional search warrant was executed in the residence of the driver of the vehicle that was initially detained on that traffic stop. $750,000, which was recovered. These are $100,000 bundles, which was recovered at that location. $100,000 bricks. And as you can see, we're reaching between 750 to 100, or let me rephrase that, 750 to $1 million was recovered on this collective raid that was done on these locations. So that's some activity that Detective Ferguson with the task force unit is doing. And we're very proud of him. He's gotten a lot of drugs off the streets. He had a really good impact upon this cartel that's very, very much well functioning in the southeastern Michigan area.
Brent, thanks for the update there. Just to, I guess now since we're in front of a larger audience potentially here, so the forfeiture, the amounts of money and other things that were confiscated and will end up, if it's determined to be illegal, will that end up then back into the forfeiture fund or some portion of it back to us via the forfeiture fund?
Yes, there's a DEA will get an apportionment and then the amount of the task force officers. We usually look at around between 23 to 35%. So if you do the math with, essentially 750 to $1 million, that would be the allotment that we would probably get down the road once this goes through the judicial process. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you
your
for the
screen
question.
still up there?
Do you want me to return to that?
Well, no, I was just,
Oh,
I didn't know what.
nope. I was going to move on to the next item.
Yeah, that's fine.
So moving into the normal
But
activity.
to finish that off, I mean, that was a great piece of police work. And it just shows how just having the right instincts, it wasn't as if it was a planned operation to end up with this. It's
Very
just
much
they
so.
followed their instincts, and I think it came out very well.
Yes,
Everybody involved should be, given kudos.
absolutely. Totally agree.
All right, sorry, you can carry on.
You're fine, sir. So moving on to the daily activity report for January. Just vehicle mileage. There is a presentation that I have to just show some comparisons of our vehicle activity in comparison of some years. Our detective report, Lieutenant Pellin, if you wanted to highlight this, I'll let you go over this topic.
Hey, Brad,
Yes.
can we back up to that for 1 second?
Which one, sir?
The mileage odometer ones?
Yep.
I've asked like a couple times, to have kind of an average and compare it to the prior year. Is anybody working on that or no?
Yeah, I have that as another bullet point on today's agenda.
Okay.
Yep,
All
I'll be covering that shortly.
Okay.
Yep. Lieutenant Pellin, are you available?
He was out there.
He's there. He's muted.
He might be washing some hands.
There we go. Is that better?
There we go.
Okay, couldn't find the unmute button. So in the month of January, there was 34 complaints that were taken by the road patrol officers, and 6 were assigned to the Detective Bureau. You have a highlight of the 4 that, or I'm sorry, the 5 that were most prominent assigned to them. I'll note case 21-0204 was an OWI that indicates that the officer involved was assaulted. In that particular situation, they were called to a apartment complex for a possible intoxicated driver. They found a female inside her vehicle. She was showing signs of impairment. They ultimately placed her under arrest and transported her to Wyandotte Hospital for a blood draw. During the course of the activities at the hospital, the female suspect kicked one of the officers in the chest. He did not sustain an injury. However, they are seeking charges for assault and battery on a police officer in that particular situation. In the booking room, she kicked him in the shin. Again, no injuries in that particular case. You'll note there's a domestic violence case, a stalking case that's open. And then we have the disturbing the peace at the Airbnb on Chatham. In that particular situation, officers were called to the home about 1 o'clock in the morning. There was a couple of people inside the hot tub that were speaking loudly, laughing loudly, and the complainant ultimately signed a citation for disturbing the peace. That has been turned over to Mr. Assorti for his review to determine if they're going to authorize the disturbing the peace complaint. So that's basically the Detective Bureau report in a nutshell.
Continuing on, this is the activity of our traffic enforcement by officer. I'll go to another generalized screen shortly and show you some activity on that. This is our overtime for the month of January. Overtime comparison from 2020 was 312 compared to 252 for this past January. Overall comparisons during this fiscal year, right now our overtime is at 2,176 compared to 2,055 of last year. Our juvenile report, we had one child abuse case that came in. That case has been closed after the interviews conducted by Detective Vasquez, and then we had a delinquent juvenile where a vape pen was discovered during a session.
Now this was done by the teacher, watching all the screens and seeing something like this that turned on his radar.
That is correct. The student was vaping while they were having class on video.
Okay.
Lieutenant, I'll have you go over the training records too, if you want.
Okay. Seems like the bulk of the training that was done in January was online. There was some activities for the SWAT team. I attended a couple negotiation training sessions with my team. Officer Benson did his monthly training scenario at the Taylor Police Department. He did, in fact, have one call out for a high-risk search warrant during the course of January. Officer Brozak was able to do dive training at Wayne County Community College and was able to include some of the students in their fire protection program. Officer Carmack has been attending several online classes, and he completed a series on leadership, which is highlighted there. And then maybe one of the most notable is that Officer Carrico completed his canine training, and Atlas is certified in both narcotics detection and tracking. And he's been put into service. And I think the Deputy Chief is going to have a presentation on that tonight as well.
Who's going to have the presentation?
Brent.
Okay. So I don't have to ask a question there, but going back up one, Officer Benson and the SWAT team
Yes.
training. What's the status of AJ now?
He is an active member of SWAT. When he beat.
So that means he does what? Just for my memory, and some of the guys have not heard this before.
He currently trains with SWAT. He's a member of the SWAT team. He is not a full-fledged active member because he has not completed the active SWAT training, which will take place in May. As soon as he successfully completes that, then he'll become a member that can participate in all the call outs. Right now, when he responds, he's more of an observer, and he can participate in minimal ways.
And if he gets called out and he's on duty, we call someone in to replace him, or they cover double duty while he leaves? I mean, he has to leave at that point, right?
It depends on our staffing. If we have a full staff and he's able to go, he can respond immediately. Otherwise, we can secure somebody to come in that would be on overtime.
Okay. Thank you.
Continuing on to our traffic summary and comparisons from year to year. I'll start off with 2019. The most important one everybody looks at is the deer activity. So in 2019, we had 37 car deer crashes. In 2020, we had 24. However, early January of this year, we were up to 7. So there's going to be a
Well, how was it for last year in January, now that you've got it there?
in 2020,
Yeah.
24. 24
No,
for the year.
for January, there were only 2.
Oh, 2, yes, in 2020.
Well, I've noticed that they stop and look both ways a lot now, so they're getting pretty smart.
Some of them, yes. This is an overview of the self-generated activity of the officers, how many tickets they write. As you can see, there's more conversations, or there's more verbal warnings than anything, about more than half. Citations, this is an actual uniform law citation with a court appearance. These NTAs are notice to appear. These are essentially warning tickets to take corrective action, to where the officers ask you to bring either like your registration that you didn't have on your person, or showing that you have a current driver's license. Some traffic stops that we've encountered recently due to the COVID situation, a lot of paperwork with trying to get appointments with Secretary of State have been impeded. So we're giving a lot of leniency on the certain circumstances that we've been dealing with, and so we understand the situation. As you can see, just 1 felony arrest for Sergeant Carmack for the month of January. And
Is that the one just coming over the bridge, or is this a new one?
well, he has additional ones this month also, but
It was on Midnights. Do you know what that felony was? I'm sorry, I'm rattled.
That was the assault and battery on a police officer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
that was generated in the earlier.
Right, the earlier report.
Yeah.
Good.
Security notices, these are individuals that are contacted with a slip of paper. These are usually for vehicles that are left open, that we can see the locks are still not engaged on the doors, so we'll leave a notification. Garage doors open. This is the season that individual snow blowers can be easily removed from their garages. Generators, anything that can be easily taken. So our officers are proactive in informing the citizens of any activity and that they could be victims of crimes, and so they leave security notices to notify those individuals. This is a generated report of our incoming calls. The most notable is General Assist. We've had 491 for January. 911 calls are at, let's see, 77. And the total of call volume for the entire month was 795.
Now, there's another report if we wanted it about by shift, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying do that, just
Okay. All right, and that's going to complete the monthly report, and everything else we have bullet pointed agenda items for.
quick question. You already answered by AJ. Yeah, just on the dispatcher. How's the new dispatcher doing?
We received her what we call DORs. Those are the activity reports that dispatcher Monica Brozek, she's our training officer for the dispatchers. She received positive remarks during her entire evaluation period. She did begin her full-time position with doing a shift on her own, and she's continued to now fall into line with the shift work. We do have her set up for a 40-hour dispatcher training class. It was divulged that although she has worked at multiple departments in the dispatcher capacity, she's never been through a formal training class for dispatcher. So during next month, she'll be attending a 40-hour class for dispatcher training, just to make sure that we've covered all the bases and we have the highest trained quality dispatcher.
All right. The commissioners, anyone have any more questions for?
No questions.
Okay, no one has any questions. Can I have a motion to approve the monthly report?
Motion.
Moved.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Liaison report. Mike, you tell us what you'd like now, but we're going into executive session later, so you can save some for that if you'd like.
So the liaison report, I've informed Mr. Budney that of our unanimous pick for chief of police, and have been attempting to get that on the agenda without success at the board meeting, next board meeting. And so the position that they're taking currently is that they want the budget approved first, and then they'll make their decision. So that's kind of how things are not moving along. So
That being said, the budget's got to be approved by the annual meeting on the 15th of March.
I am not certain.
I think they have to present the budget at the approved budget by that meeting. So,
I believe that is the case, but I'm not certain of it.
okay.
Somehow April 1st hangs in my mind, but that's it would make sense.
That's my memory, but I'm getting old. My granddaughter said, "Grandpa, you're old." So I can't argue with their intelligence.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Michael?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Reserve report.
You guys hear me?
I
Yes.
like that how you came
Yep.
out of the mist and then you're in front of the
I came out of the
American
fall.
flag, just like George Patton. So
Yep,
that's
America.
good.
America. As of last night, the reserves are back to full action. The cadets, minus one of the reserves, we're giving him a leave of absence for 2 months. His work sending him to Alabama for canine training, and once he completes those classes, he'll come back. And then, so now we're back in service. We're trying to make up the trainings that we missed last year: CPR, PPCT. And we're going to try to do some additional trainings during the summer when we can have in-person trainings. And that's about it for the reserve report.
Very good. Anyone have any questions of Sergeant Carmack?
No questions.
Okay. Moving on from the reserve account or report, we have some life-saving commendations. And Ruth, you
Yes.
nagged me to sign them, and then you stopped nagging me.
We'll get it.
Jesus, I'm sorry. I had a couple things happen here, and with my with my great uncle, he threw the chain off of his snowplow tractor, and the world was going to end. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, on the life-saving commendations.
I believe Lieutenant Pellin's going to handle that.
Yeah, so last month, officers Robert Piazza and Sue Del Piaz responded to a private residence on Bellevue. It was near shift change and a welfare check. And they were going to go and ascertain if the occupant of the house was having a medical emergency. It was indicated that there may be some reaction or something diabetic related. They responded to the home. The caller was several hundred miles away, so they were unable to check on him herself. The officers could not gain entry into the home. They checked the perimeter. Peering through a back window, they observed what appeared to be an unresponsive person on the kitchen floor. They had radio communication with each other. Officer Piazza forced entry into the front of the home through the front door. The officers went inside, found the 66-year-old resident convulsing, shaking uncontrollably on the floor. They checked the interior of the kitchen. They found a diabetic emergency medical kit. They administered a dose of glucose to the gentleman, and they called for an ambulance to respond to the scene. They stayed with him. The paramedics arrived, administered a second dose of the glucose, and they subsequently transported him to the hospital. What was learned later on was that his level was what they call 28. Anything below 40 is critical. So their efforts by not only recognizing the situation, I should say their prompt response, recognize the situation, forcing entry into the home, and then ultimately locating the medication, administering it, and summoning the paramedics saved this gentleman's life. I'm only reluctant not to mention his name because it was his request that we did not do so. But he is very appreciative of our efforts. And I'm very proud of what Officers Piazza and Del Piaz did on that day, or on that evening, I should say. And the Deputy Chief and I fully recommend them for this life-saving award, and I appreciate their efforts.
Well, I think that was outstanding, the work they performed. And fortunately, it's the level of performance that we've grown to expect from all our officers, but here we were able to see it all in action. So that's absolutely terrific, and congratulations. And I don't know, we'd love to have pictures and hand out things, but it's hard to do that. But I see we've got Sue and Bob on the Zoom. Is there anything they'd like to say?
Before they say anything, Paul, maybe Sergeant Carmack, he forwarded this up the chain of command.
Okay.
Piazza is on his shift, and the recommendation was brought from him. So I don't, Sergeant Carmack, if you want to say anything about the situation, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
With the time that this call came out, it was Piazza was in early for the shift, and Sue was Del Piaz was ending her shifts. Those guys, Rob's on midnights and Sue's on afternoons. They worked together and left to handle this. I spoke to the victim quite a few times since this had happened, and he freely admits he was in the sugar was so low, he was in a diabetic coma. I personally believe he may not have lasted the night until the morning if someone would have found him. So he knows that if it wasn't for these guys, these Del Piaz and Piazza, he may not have made it. He's been coming in the station, a little side note, every night dropping off donuts for us on midnights. It's been appreciated, but he's a nice person, and I know he's appreciative of this. These guys did, so.
That's great.
Sue, Robert?
Sue's coming on. At least I thought Sue was coming on. Bob's coming on. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh,
if
thank you.
Oops,
Oh, can you
Sue.
hear me? No, I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
I know
you as
you're
well.
not doing it. Whoops, I'm sorry, Bob.
Oh, sorry. Thank you as well. I'm new to the Zoom. I'm trying to figure this out as we go. Sorry about that.
Don't feel bad. It's been around here a while. I'm still stumbling through it. But I got to say that, you know, both of you, I know you don't do it for the recognition, but it's nice when we can, you know, we can spend some time talking about these kinds of things as opposed to the bad stuff. So, and as you see, it's not just the commission or your command officers that care, it's the community that cares, and they recognize that. That's really great.
I appreciate you. And it was nice seeing him. He came and talked to me on my shift, and he's doing a lot better. He stayed in the hospital, he said, for about 2 days. And he's healing up well.
That's good. Anyone else want to comment on, you know, this life-saving occasion?
Great work, guys. I mean, obviously another example of community policing that you do so well for all of us.
Ditto on that. Great work, folks. You did a great job and great service to your community.
Bob and Sue, thank you very much. You've done what I think the community expects. You're there for them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Was there any more that you, Brent or Ken wanted to say on that?
No, sir.
Then we'll move to the police canine, Atlas. Does he like that? Does he like that name?
I think so.
Okay.
So I need to apologize for Trustee Jarecki. He got kind of caught off guard last week. I wanted to bring the police commission the information of what was transpiring, and Trustee O'Connor's excitement and letting everybody know that the K-9 is in service preempted that. So I apologize to Mr. Jarecki for being caught off guard. So this is Officer Carrico and his new K-9 Atlas. They have been placed in service. They are ready for duty. There was a ceremony to swear in Atlas. That was done by Trustee O'Connor on January 29th. This was attended by the lieutenant, myself, some detectives, the secretary, and some township members. The K-9 is going to be, or is certified in tracking, article search, building searches, and narcotics detection. There's two different types of narcotics detection. There's one where a dog used to actually paw whenever they were hitting on to a certain type of detection of drugs. We have what they call a passive K-9. So he's just going to sit and doesn't do any damage to property or any type of vehicle, or if you're doing a search in a residential area, no damage to couches or anything like that. So he's been certified by the United States Canine Association. And we want to congratulate Officer Carrico and K-9 Atlas. There was also a article in the News Herald, which just gives a little bit more overview of the training program and what Officer Carrico was needed to do to achieve the certification for Atlas. I'm very proud of him, and we appreciate what he's done.
That's great. That's great. So he's on duty now every shift that Officer Carrico works?
Yes, he's working the day shift right now. He does have overtime that he works occasionally, and
How do we pay his overtime?
with the overtime budget.
Oh.
But he also has a training. He needs to have 16 hours of training. So Wednesdays are his dedicated training days. So he'll be,
Now, when you say 16 hours, is that how frequent?
that's per month, per
Okay.
month. And he certifies of those 4 topics or courses that we just outlined. He has to be trained in each one of those as remedial training.
Deputy
Oh.
Chief, can you, for the community out there watching, can you tell us how long, this has been quite a process, so approximately how long we've been working on this within the department to make this happen?
It's actually been a couple of years. The idea is to have an officer prepared whenever, in the initial part of today's presentation, our task force officer, John Ferguson, is with the DEA out of Metro Airport. He's been there over 10 years. He's eligible to retire in the next 2 to 3 at his will. Once he retires, we plan on having this canine take his place. So the DEA was slow during COVID to get us some of the forfeiture funds that we were trying to get. Due to the COVID, it slowed down the court cases, it slowed down the processing. We made some calls all the way up to Washington, and we expressed our contributions and our earnest to support their program and to have a pre-planned dog that's available to go into the replacement mode. A lot of departments just provide an officer as a task force officer as a police department, and they don't donate a dog. So we were proactive. We have the dog ready to go, and with that process, we're ready to replace John whenever he chooses to retire. The training though for Atlas was a 6-week training program, but the infrastructure behind it to get this whole program together has been months in the work. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Second question, does anybody have Piazza's phone number to let him know his phone is still on?
I just sent him a text.
All right.
Sounded like the toilet flushed.
He caught it. Okay. Do we have any more on the canine? Obviously not. Budget. Deputy Chief, can you give us an update? Anything
Yep. So now
significant to discuss?
yes, just I have a screenshot of the budget current. This was for December 9th. This is the most current one that we have posted. This will carry us to the end of the month. Our fiscal period is going to end March 31st, and our new one will start April 1st. So the only thing notable is if you look at the vehicle purchase, if you were to look at this, it would show that we purchased 2 vehicles and that we're over budget. What will be in the presentation shortly is that Lieutenant Pellin acquired a grant, and I'll let him explain that. But with that grant, we ended up paying for the purchase of this vehicle out of our budget, and then we're going to be reimbursed by that grant fund, and it's just a pass-through. So that money will be recouped whenever we get the grant money funding back. So related to overtime, our overtime is at 53%. We still show an available balance of $46,000 out of the $100,000. So we're doing really well with curtailing the overtime. The only thing that I had brought up before is computer software shows we're over budget. That was due to a consortium and an upgrade that we did with our computer system with the other 18 communities and additional ones that just came on in the Downriver North area. That was for some modules and enhancements to the computer software. So we ended up having to pay for that consortium. And that was a subscription cost that ended up increasing things. Otherwise, the rest of the budget, unless anybody from the commission has any questions, we're doing fairly well. Out of the $3.6 million, we still have a available balance of $444,000 to run us until March 31st.
And the critical thing is you expect to be on budget for the end of the year, correct?
I do.
That's what we want to hear. Anyone else have any questions on the budget?
No questions.
Homeland Security.
I'm going to turn that over to the Lieutenant.
So over a dozen years ago, we entered into a Homeland Security initiative with Wayne County Emergency Management. And we've been able to acquire overtime hours and monies for fuel reimbursement, some equipment, and a vehicle. Now, the first vehicle that we acquired was got it almost 8 years ago, or actually longer than that. Barron was the chief, so it's been 10 years. Recently, in the last 6 months or so, I attended a meeting and raised an issue about us being able to pull our boat to different areas, whether it's an emergency or whether it's going to be an enforcement detail or surveillance or something else, and put in a request for this particular vehicle. Obviously, we just took delivery of it a few weeks ago. The sticker price on the vehicle was over $50,000. The state price was $36,000, but it actually cost us nothing, which is really cool because we're the only agency in the 13-member grant that has gotten vehicles. And I think it has a lot to do with our networking that we've been able to accomplish over the years. The vehicle is equipped with a generator. So if we have a critical incident that we need to plug in laptops or something else, we have that availability to us. It's a 4x4. It's got plastic flooring and so forth. So it's easy to clean up. The goal for using this vehicle is just that. We're going to keep it unmarked. We can use it for patrols if necessary, but we're going to convert the pickup truck that we currently have into a patrol vehicle. We're going to get it graphic and keep this one on the side for emergency use or in case you have to get up on Hennepin Point or something else, we can use it for that. But the primary purpose is going to be for Homeland Security, but it does give us the ability to have another vehicle in our fleet at no cost to us, which is a beautiful thing.
Will it be marked?
This vehicle will not. This one will be not. We do have another pickup truck in our fleet.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted.
No, that was it. So it costs us nothing, and it's going to be a good use for us. We can use it next year for our deer call. We can use it for marine operations or whatever we see fit.
Well, that was a good job arranging that. You know, they didn't just come hand it out. You had to go ferret it out. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, we do have a request in under a similar grant for some infrared binoculars that we can use, assign them to our road patrol. Maybe if our callers need them or something else, but if we get approved for that, that'll be like $6,000 for us in equipment under a new Homeland Security grant.
Good. Until they dry up, keep going after them.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on this item?
No, just congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep going. Take all the grants we can get. Helps with the budget.
Sure does.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, eligibility list.
So with the eligibility list, we have been informed by Clerk Dispatcher Bennett that she plans on retiring in June of 2021. So we only have a few months. Due to the close proximity that the township board meets, I did ask to have this as an agenda item placed on the agenda, although I could have it removed. What I'm asking is for the Police Commission to approve authorization to create an eligibility list for the police clerk dispatcher for the potential retirement of Marcia Bennett, which would be in June of this year, and to be able to start an eligibility list to look for candidates for her replacement. So
we're asking for their approval to go out and post and advertise for interviews.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I would like the police commission to just rubber stamp that, and then we could move forward to the agenda item at the township board level.
Any other commission have questions?
You know, I have a question on this, Paul. If you read ordinance 67-1, whatever it is,
Yeah.
is this a necessary step that we have to go to the full board? I thought we had for that.
It's been if I can jump in, it's kind of been a past practice that we just try and do a little belt suspenders on this, let everyone know what's happening for communication point of view.
Yeah.
So we don't get too far out on one path and then find out that that really wasn't the path we should have gone. So
Okay.
we've
Yeah,
in the
it does
past,
address it. It says the police commission has delegated the authority to hire personnel for all available positions within the organizational structure of the township's police department, provided, however, that the appointment or promotion of all other officers of the township police department above the rank of sergeant shall be by the township board after recommendation thereof has been received by the township board from the police commission.
you're absolutely accurate on your reading of the statute.
So, but we have always done this as a courtesy. I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
Well, it's just kind of what we've done, let people know what our plans were.
All right.
I will bring up, I've been informed that we don't have legal to where the legal expenses are carried over at the township level. So that's what,
Legal expenses.
yeah.
I'm not sure what we're talking about there, but we'll take it offline later. Okay, so any of the other commissioners have a comment?
Yeah, Paul, I'll just jump in to legal expenses to pay for the ad, because this has to go through
Oh,
the legal news for the production so that it's
I just
officially.
assumed that was in your
officially
line
published.
item for all of that, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
they took that away.
The loophole that forces you over there anyway.
Yes.
Ah. Well, it's kind of irrelevant. We're doing it. We have done it in the past and we're going to continue doing it. It's just the safest way to keep the communication going. All right. So I guess it's more of a resolution. All in favor of, can I have a motion?
Motion for resolution to request permission to, sorry, I lost my notes here.
To do the,
Create an eligibility list.
Yes, thank you. To create an eligibility list for dispatcher.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So there's your rubber stamp, Brent. You're on mute.
Thank you very much. We all appreciate it.
Okay. Next item is hazardous roadway, East River or West River, actually, in Loma Circle. Correct?
Yes, that was a typo.
It's all right.
This was brought to our attention by the Concessi family and a couple of others that live near the West River and Loma location.
Wow.
As you can see, we're looking at Loma facing west. What's transpired is that DTE came in and there was normally larger trees here, and due to the power lines and the utility poles, they actually clear cut this area. So now what we have is this open area that there's only about between 8 to 12 feet, depending on which portion of the landline here is to where you would be going in the water.
That's kind of a cliff there too, isn't it? A little above.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The last 2 or 3 years, even back to Chief Porcerelli's administration, there was contact with the county and efforts to put a guardrail right along this location. I'm working with DPS right now to have them revisit this again. This has been visited at least once, if not twice before. But if you look, once this roadway gets icy, there is a decline, so it actually slopes downward quite significantly. So we have wanted to notify the public that if this should be presented with any icy conditions, contact our police dispatch at 676-70-100. we will dispatch the county there, and then we will also dispatch our local DPS to look at the situation and see what remediation efforts we need to keep that area safe for now until that guardrail is approved. Once again, we're dealing with Wayne County. It has to go through different engineering studies. I know the residents want immediate action taken and a guardrail placed there as quickly as possible, but there is a large bureaucracy and it takes many levels. So we are on it. I'm working with DPS to try and get this done. And we are in constant contact with Wayne County to try and make a resolution to this.
Just to be clear, what you're saying, that the permanent resolution here, say, be it a guardrail, would be the responsibility of Wayne County Road Commission to study, determine, and then install whatever their process is. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. From my understanding, they looked at this location 2 or 3 years ago, and they did not wish to put a guardrail there. They didn't find a need.
Well, we had trees there.
When we had trees there. If you look down, though, most of the intersections along West River that have an intersection point, you will see a guardrail at those locations. So
Yeah, the only other thing I would recommend, Brent, is they have to have emergency procedures where they put, yellow signs, something in the interim.
Understood, and we are working on that.
That's what we ought to try and force them to do. And if we have to, I guess, whatever we can do with our own DPW, if they're dragging their heels, we got to stop people from being able to go in the water.
Understood. Thank you for the recommendation.
Is there any way to get a temporary barrier up there with, the cement walls?
That's kind of what I was recommending, Scott,
Right.
in my non-legalese talk.
I will revisit that question tomorrow with DPS, and we'll try and get those issues addressed.
Because at the end of the day, we gotta keep people from going into water.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Head on that topic.
But a good pickup on that, and obviously I can see the residents. It just took the first one going down the road to say, hey, what's going on here? All right. Well, yeah, keep on it, because really we want to try and get something up there. I mean, this last snow we had, someone could have gone off,
Yeah, I
and
would.
at night, because it's changed there, that's going to be blind. It's just going to look black. People aren't going to know there's nothing beyond that but the water.
Absolutely. I did
All
reach
right.
out to the residents personally, and I gave them instructions on how to contact us if there is any inclement weather or any weather conditions that impact that location.
But as Scott brought up too, I mean, get some yellow sawhorses with the little flashing yellow lights on them. Something.
We will work on that.
All right. Anyone else on that? We're at the vehicle mileage maintenance cost analysis.
Okay, this is what Trustee Jarecki was alluding to earlier. What we have here is just showing some mileage differences for an annual basis, and then I broke it down to a 12-month average. So this is our vehicle fleet of assorted vehicles. The odometer mileage, as you can see, 555,000 miles on average in 2018, 2019, 485,000 and 656,000 last year. I do attribute the increase last year with COVID. Our officers, honestly, we had less interaction with the citizens due to the potential exposure, not putting the community at risk and the officers at risk. It was a mutual agreement. So the officers had probably more road time at that. On a monthly average, we were at 46,000 miles in 2018. In 2019, it was down to 40,000, and then an increase of monthly road mileage of 54,000 in 2020. So as you can see, with a difference between 2018 and 2019, we had a decrease of about 69,000 miles. And the difference between 2019 and 2020, we had an increase of 170,000 miles. With this schedule, I'm going to break this down and go more into our road patrol vehicles. my objective to obtain is that the amount of miles that we're putting on the vehicles, and then trying to correlate the amount of maintenance that we're putting into those vehicles. Some of the vehicles that we've had are sustaining substantial amounts of repairs. So this is just an example of one of our 2017 Dodge Chargers. The front end completely went out on this vehicle. There's only a 36,000 3-year warranty on this. It ended up costing us around $3,000, and then there was an additional, the other 900 was actually for brake repair. But this is just one example of many that we've had to do front vehicle assembly repairs. A couple of vehicles that we did, we just squeaked by with 1 month left in the warranty before it expired, that we ended up having the whole front end replaced at the expense of the manufacturer. But with the vehicles that we have in our fleet, we're going to do a vehicle comparison with the amount of mileage that we're getting. We'll compare the different vehicle manufacturers and do a spreadsheet just to kind of do a difference in how much one is costing compared to the other. So I just wanted you to be aware of that's what we'll be working on. So we're just trying to keep our maintenance costs down. We have looked into extended warranties because of the increased expense that we're incurring for fleet maintenance. The roadways, as you can tell, and I can ascertain from this winter, is going to have a tremendous impact on making our roads even worse. So we're looking for adjustments to our fleet so that we can minimize repair costs and have the best vehicles that can handle the road conditions that we're going to have to deal with for now and for probably years to come. So, any questions?
Hey, Mike, I'll let you go first. This was your
No,
driving effort.
I think that's a great approach that you're taking. It's really good information, and thanks for providing it. Gives us a clear understanding of where we're at.
It was a good recommendation, Mike, and I appreciate that. And we're going to deliver a little bit more in-depth information to give a little bit more financial efforts to see, how we can benefit the community and save money.
Okay,
And the maintenance is good. I know there was sensitivity to that in the past, and that's fine. But also, we say we like to replace so many vehicles a year, and we like to run them so many miles and then replace them. And then with our new mileage figures, you ought to see, just start running the numbers and see if that replacement, plan or equation works, or do you just start getting behind, and does that support getting another new vehicle somewhere in that rotation? Because the numbers, you got all the mileage, that should come out pretty good in a spreadsheet analysis.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have anything on the vehicles? Well, it's kind of been a hot topic over the last period of time, but why don't you give us an update on our deer call?
So this is a public statement that we sent out to the township board members, the commission, and our department personnel. I'm going to share this with the public now. So the Groseal Police Department completed an aerial deer count on February 9th of this year with a close estimate of 400 deer on Groseal. I'm grateful to Trustee Mike Jarecki and Detective Pete Darsnick for accompanying the helicopter pilot and in completing this arduous task. Our current operational period is coming to a close with the intent on fulfilling 150 deer management permits. Last year, the township culled 110 deer. The township recognizes the need to move toward a lower number of deer and will continue to evaluate the situation to determine the appropriate number. The police department often coordinates with the state of Michigan to determine the available options to diminish our deer herd population. Those measures are currently under further discussion and review. A draft plan for continued remediation of our deer population is under revision. It will be updated and amended with new information gleaned from our aerial count that took place the other day. There is a deer call plan that is is pretty much well complete. However, I'm going to implement some of the additional numbers that were gleaned from this aerial operation. We were under the estimate that was only going to take an hour and a half, maybe an hour to get the deer count. I would like Mr. Jarecki, if he would, to just give us a little insight on what challenges he had, because I know it was quite an experience, and I'd like him to share that with us. I think we all learn a great deal.
It was a great day to do a deer count. We had lots of snow, some fresh snow. So all the debris on the ground was covered. And so if you saw a silhouette, there was a good probability it was a deer. We were flying about 200 feet above ground. Winds were light. And so we could go as slow as 15 knots, which was great. And you could turn and circle. The deer were yarded up real well because of the cold, and they do that naturally every year. And so we have a very high confidence level that it's an accurate call or count, I should say. And it took us about 2.5 hours, Brent. I don't know, you got the bill.
2.5 hours is accurate. It was a long time. And I know looking straight down and being spun around like a blender was probably quite an experience.
It probably was money well spent. Like I said, we have a very high level of confidence in that count. And there's actually 3 people counting, Pete, myself, and the pilot. And I'm grateful. If we do it again, I think we have to kind of follow the same guidelines. We got to wait probably to.
We lost you, Mike.
You're yarded up. We got to make sure we have a lot, and you can have a real great count if that happens. So, but I think we got a real good baseline. So, thanks for spending money, Brent. I think it was money well spent.
I do too. I appreciate the help that you contributed. Thank you, sir.
I got a quick question. Is there any way to see coyotes when you're doing that? Or are they down in dens?
We saw 2 running. We could count squirrels. That's how good the visibility was. I mean, lots of dogs, lots of squirrels, just a couple coyotes, no foxes. A lot of deer. And actually, I think it's going to help with the call next year as well, because they know where the high concentrations of deer are at based on that flyover. So hopefully we can be a little bit more effective. I mean, they've done a great job this year, but it's just going to enhance their capabilities. So that's it.
Mr. Anderson, since we're on the same topic, since we're on animals, I do have just a brief thing with the animal shelter that I'd like to intervene with right here, if I could.
That's fine.
Okay. So I was updated by the Groseal Animal Shelter coordinator, ACO Julie Cordes. Right now, she has a cat named Vic. That's the only accommodations that she has. And Vic at Vic's Casual Dining is sponsoring to pay the $50 adoption fee, and then anybody who adopts this fine cat will get a gift certificate for dinner at Vic's Casual Dining. So a little incentive, but the cat's lonely. The cat's alone by himself at the animal shelter, and it's looking for a good home. So Julie would love to be able to adopt this cat out. And as you can see, there's a little bit of an incentive to do so. So anybody that would like to contact ACO Cordes at the police department or at the animal shelter, and we'll try and facilitate that. So thank you very much.
That's good. Isn't Vic's the old Scalapini place?
It is in Southgate on Diggs.
They have good food there.
It's very good. I recommend the steak Brianna.
Okay, anything more on the deer call?
Just thanks to all the people who are involved. It's it sounds like it's maybe a fun activity, but it's not. It's a lot of hard, grueling work getting that done. So a big thanks to all the officers who are involved with
Yeah, let me enhance on that. Detective Darsnik, Detective Vasquez, um, who else is involved? We have John Canterbury, who is intimately involved, and we have a state trooper. We kept the Deer Call members low this year, just because they've come together with a process. Next year, we intend on expanding that group of individuals to be a little bit larger, to where we'll have additionally trained individuals. But it's, these people are refined and they know how to get things done as efficiently as possible. And the new training program will bring in a few more into the fold to do that. So all of them did some, I forgot to mention Chief Warnick, retired Chief Warnick was intimately involved in this and made a huge donation of time and effort into this. All of those gentlemen, for the amount of hours that they put into this, it was a second job. It wasn't a part-time job. So I did talk to retired Chief Warnick the other day, with this recent snowfall that they had, try and trudge through, 8 to 10 inches, 12 inches of snow, trying to drag a deer from about 100 feet into, the woods. It's for young people, not for old people. So.
Oh, wait a minute, Brent, I take that personally. But I will say, Mark put a lot of time into, coming up with this new deer call plan. And I was happy to see that he stuck around to help, see it through.
He did.
He did a good job. And all the people, I mean, obviously you didn't see any of us out there. So, we got to thank those guys. It's not fun. So.
Well said.
Will there be a wrap at some point as far as numbers of deer taken, amount of food donated, et cetera?
Yes, we're going to give a presentation at the commission level, and then I'll ask Trustee Jarecki to give a synopsis at the board level. I'm assembling those numbers right now. I do want to reach out, and I have a message into the state. So once I coordinate with them and get all the numbers solidified, then I will have a presentation available that everybody will be fully aware of where we were at, where we are, and where we're going.
Okay, departure a little, but Greg Karmazin, are you there, or is that just your picture? If it was live, I'd know if you were eating dinner or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I am here.
That's what I thought.
I just want to thank all the personnel involved with the police department for the deer call being done this year, and of course the commissioners that were very involved. It really is something that I think has to be done properly, and it sounds like you're doing it right. And I am glad to hear that there will be a count that will be released to the public and an explanation of what took place. I would ask too that perhaps the call activities with the airport would be included with that report, so that we have a sense of the total herd population across the island. I understand that there is a different process for the airport, and they also have some numbers down there that could be added into it to come up with an island-wide total. And I will say that continuing effort to analyze what the impact is on the ecology of the island and what the sustainable level is according to wildlife management experts is definitely needed. I know you guys did a great job. It's probably the largest call that's been done perhaps ever, from what I understand in terms of the permits that were obtained. But I was looking at my security cameras the other day, and I saw it.
Lost you.
And can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were breaking up a little.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was saying is I from my understanding, based on the permits, this might have been one of the largest calls ever. But I would just say that last week, or just a few days ago, in fact, I was looking at my security cameras and I have a picture of 10 deer in my front lawn. So, to the extent that perhaps in certain areas of the island, the calls made an impact, but there are areas where, I mean, I've never in, 50 years of being here, ever seen a concentration of deer like this in the front yard. And I captured it on film because it's just remarkable. And
just about every year, I get pictures of the front yard and the backyard of 8, 10, 12. I mean,
yeah,
at a certain point in time, everybody's going to be able to get that picture. But it would be nice, I'm glad to hear your positive statements. It would be nice if those would be reflected on your blog or website. Or
well, yeah, and it certainly will be. And I look forward. I think, as the commission's working on this, to the extent that it can be also incorporated in the open space plan, there really is a serious issue with the ecology of the open space and how the average white-tailed deer consumes about 1.5 tons of vegetation a year. And I read about Ann Arbor's efforts to hire a biologist and come up with an actual management plan for their open space because of the impact on their natural areas. And I mean, if you look at the open space, the browse line across the island, especially in the north end, I mean, again, looking at it for 50 years, I've just never seen it like this. And the damage in the yard that I have I've never experienced this kind of damage before. None of us, the neighbors say the same thing. So it's progress, and I certainly applaud it, and I will recognize it. But my only message is that I'd like to see the effort continue and get some wildlife management experts into this to look at the ecology of the open space and other areas of the island, so that we have a total picture of
what I'll commit to is I know the township board and Supervisor Budney have requested us to continue our collaboration with the DNR and the state people on what we can do to continue getting the numbers down. As far as your comments on the ecology of the open space, not wanting to lay it off, but go talk to that commission and they should pick up that part of the load.
And you're absolutely right, and I will do that. I think that's a good point. I haven't done that. So, anyways, again, applaud your efforts and keep it up.
Well, give us some good press, and we'll let you
Certainly.
talk more.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the deer call? Next item is the county bridge.
This is just a brief topic. The license plate reader that we had at the county bridge, whenever they redid the infrastructure to the West River Road Bridge, it impeded upon the infrastructure that we had to support that system. Right now, we're working with Wayne County's contractor to try and get these levels of bureaucracy. There's going to be a requirement for an engineer to come in to be able to put in the support pole that we had that was supporting the LPR system. So it's a project in the works, but Bob Zalesko and former Chief Porcerelli worked diligently and hard to get that set up years ago. We are going through the different levels to try and make sure that we get this in place as quickly as possible. But once again, things don't always happen as quickly as we'd like them to, but we are on it. And I just wanted to apprise the commission that once we get the footings for the pole, and we do have the pole, it's just requiring some engineering that's going to take some time. So we're on it, and we're working with DPS, who is actually working very well with Wayne County. So it's a concerted effort with all the things that are going on with the Wayne County Free Bridge right now.
Well, the good news is the bad news is you'll probably have enough time to get it done by the time it opens.
No comment.
Okay, school emergency drills.
I'm going to turn that over to Lieutenant Pellin. He can just give you an update on what we're doing.
So every year, state law requires that we coordinate at least 3 emergency drills with every school building within our district, within our jurisdiction. We conducted one at each building prior to the conclusion of 2020, but with COVID, we were delayed in the drills that we had scheduled for the month of January. So we're going to continue the drills. We have one scheduled this Friday at one of the elementary schools. Next week, we have 2 more drills scheduled, again, at the elementary school level. And then we also have drills scheduled at the middle school and high school as well. So they are going to be conducted according to what we've always done. But just so that the commission understands kind of what we've kind of transitioned to with our drills. In years past, we used to focus on 2 types. First was a secure mode, where there might be a potential threat outside of the school, whether it's a home invasion, a bank robbery, or something else. And we notify the school and they lock their exterior doors. The other type was a lockdown, where there was all of a sudden a threat on the inside of the school. Students, staff would go into a room, lock their doors, become very quiet, and just wait for us to come and assist them. In 2019, we started to transition into Alice, which is similar in nature. However, instead of having the masses huddle down in the corner of a room, they're now empowered to either evacuate if they think it's safe. They can leave the school, they can run to a designated area, or they can start barricading the doors of the classroom or other room that they're in. And depending on the age level, we even encourage that they start to, I don't want to say arm themselves, but be prepared in case the threat enters the room that they're at. They can pick up a table, they can pick up a chair, they can pick up a baseball bat or something else and start to disrupt the violent behavior that's taken place. So we're going to be going through some exercises with the different schools in that it's starting out with education. Our officers will go into classrooms after the students watch a video. They get exposed to what's going to be expected of them. Then they can actually start rehearsing barricading the classrooms, finding something in their classroom that they can arm themselves with, or even look at the closest exits to where they're at during the course of their school day. So they're prepared if something happens at all times. So our first drill for 2021 is scheduled for Friday. That's a makeup drill because one of the elementaries had to cancel last year. And then we're going to continue with the other ones for every other school building.
Very good. Anyone have any questions of Ken on the school situation? Good.
Okay.
Nice update. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment. Do you have anything more to say, Greg?
Dangerous question.
Well, he must be slurping something down.
No,
Here he
I'm
comes.
I'm all set. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Okay. And I got to say, I was remiss in the deer call thing. We've got Eric and Pete online here. Do you guys want to share any thoughts? You know, they made it sound like you guys, had a walk in the park.
I'll wait till we have our full report done and then give you guys some better data then. But just want to thank everybody for all their help too, and the board support and the police commission support for backing us on this and letting us do what we got to do.
Appreciate you taking it on and bringing it off so professionally.
No problem.
Anyone else have anything on public comment? Okay, if not, and Brian, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
I mean, we're going to go into executive session. What do we got to do to turn off your end?
Who else do you want Ruth gone?
Ruth can stay unless she wants to
Okay, then you
have a drink
all
or
set?
something.
You guys are good. I will leave you, and you're off cable, so you're good.